Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Coach's Corner for Week 8 of the high school football season. Along with Coach Columbo, I'm Ken Gregg, and welcome to the Coach's Corner through the Immaculata High School, Unitas Caritas Foundation, and Immaculata High School football. Tonight, we're going to be talking about and review the past week's game against Weequahic High School. We're also going to preview the upcoming game against Hudson Catholic away on the road this Friday night with kickoff at 7 p.m. We're also going to talk a little bit about the non-public playoff scenarios that we have coming up. And we also want to remind everyone, if you have any questions, make sure you ask them. You can click on the link to ask those questions that you see on the link there, or you can go right to the Unitas Caritas website as well. So, Coach, let's kick things off right now, and let's talk a little bit about the game against Weequahic, a game which saw you win in overtime 24-21, and also gave you the division championship in the Super Football Conference.
Yeah, it's funny that, it's kind of the same scenario as a year ago when we played Lincoln for the conference championship. They came in undefeated, and, we lost the game in overtime. Right. This one, listen, this would have been our fourth overtime game in the last, 9 games, which is a lot. So we definitely had some experience in overtime. And, unfortunately, the previous 3 did not work out in our favor with the 2 losses this year in overtime, and then obviously the one last year. But coming back and winning this one was, as we spoke last week, they're a very, very dangerous team, had some great skill players. As, guys that people that watched the game saw 24. Shady Marshall was a very, very good running back. I'm not going to say we stopped them, but we contained them as best we could. And, we capitalized on some things, and, it was very nice to win that thing at home, in front of all our fans, and our fans were great. And it was a very, very sweet victory for us, well earned. And we're very, very happy, with the outcome, obviously. The thing about football is that it doesn't last long. Right. It lasts for about a day, and then, you're right back to work. And, so we got back to work this week for our next opponent in Hudson Catholic. But the game against Weequahic was one that I don't think people are going to forget for a while here. So great job by our kids, by our coaches, and, it was a great night for our school as a whole.
Probably that game on Friday night had a little bit of everything going on. It was senior night for Immaculata High School and all, but there was a little bit of everything going on at some points in the second half, especially. Got a little chippy with some things going on the sideline with both teams. Give us a little, background to exactly, how our kids reacted very, very well. The other side, maybe not so much, but give us a little bit of background of that scenario on Friday night. That was just, it was not fun to see, but our kids really held their own.
Yeah, I mean, I'm proud that our kids stood up to it. I think there was a lot of chippiness on that end, and we kept our heads. Things could have got out of hand, and I think our kids did a great job understanding that. True sportsmanship is what's most important, and we were able to contain ourselves and get back to playing football. And I think our kids did a lot of talking on the field in terms of with their helmet and shoulder pads. And I think Weequahic hasn't been hit like that this year. Right. Their games were blowouts, every single one of them. And, they got into a situation where, we've been there before. We've played in games like that, and we were experienced, and we knew to just keep pounding away. And that was uncharted waters for them. And I'm not sure they really knew how to handle it. And, it definitely was something that I'm proud of our kids for the way they acted. You're going to run into those things, as a coach and in your career. And, you just got to have cooler heads prevail. And I think that's what
we have talked about the experience in games like this, overtime games, a couple of times already this year and so on. The 2 previous, the outcome was the other way around. But you showed your grit and so forth in those games. The first game, double overtime against Manheim Central. The second overtime game, single overtime against Holy Trinity. You played so tough against those teams, and I think that experience in those two definitely had to help you in this game on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, we got into overtime. I was like, oh, well, we've been here before. We know how to handle it. And, we knew how to play in tight games. And there were a lot of big plays that led up to that. And, I think you're right, Ken. I think the experience that we had in playing in those kind of games was surely in our favor. Not so sure that Weequahic had played in that type of situation before. The previous week, they won 42-0 against a 6-0 team. I was at the game, and I was like, whoa, boy, we got a tough opponent here. And, our kids just, right off the bat, we struck first, we struck second, and then obviously we had the big knockout punch in the end.
Awesome. Coach, let's take a look at some of the highlights from that game. There was plenty in that game, especially for Immaculata. Let's take a look.
Yeah, I mean, the opening kickoff, I think, just sets the tone for us. And, when you look at, what we did on our opening kickoff, we were able to, move the ball with our return. And I think the uniqueness of our return is what really helped us here in that. A lot of times we run a reverse on our return. And the reason we do it is this. We knew they were not going to kick the ball to Cam, but we were saying, how are we going to get him the ball? So, we ran a reverse on a kickoff. And the key is that if you look at it, and I stopped this right here, 6 of their players bite on the reverse. So when you do the math there, that leaves 5 players left to block, and one of them being the kicker. So we were able to, get those kids right out of the scenario on a reverse. Now, the thing, Cam just does a great job hitting it. He's untouched. But what we need to watch is the top right of the screen where we have a double team on one of our players, and you watch Jackson Laub and Arian Johnson run that kid right into the ground. And Cam makes a move here on their kid, and he's gone. Now, when you look at this right here, okay, in most places, the angle that kid has on Chadwick, he should tackle him.
Absolutely.
But when you look at Cam's speed, how he just pulls away, and that puts us, in the situation right off the bat. So great punch starting the game off. When you look at it from behind, I think if you look at the left part of the screen over here, you're going to see that we have 2 double teams, one on their first guy right on the edge there, and then the second one, which is right. Let me just get that back a minute. I have a new computer here, so it's a little tough. If you look at this right here, follow my cursor, we run that kid into the ground, and there he goes, and he's out. So great way to start the game. Got the crowd going and all that. Defensively, we did some real nice things. What we did was we took them out of their offense. I think we took away everything they wanted to do. I think the play of Martin Wangton was outstanding. The play of Luke Lau was outstanding. I think our pass coverage is always going to be good because we have 2 outstanding corners, and we have a safety that fills down pretty well. Our linebackers do a great job, and obviously our defensive end. So we do a nice job defensively here. Martin is just a kid that can be dominant and can be unblockable for us most of the time. Here's another one. They run a sprint out pass, a little roll here, and we run a little blitz that really confused their blocking scheme. Jackson Laub comes back, has a big tackle for a loss. When you look at this right here and you watch what the blitz does, how 27 Laub on the right side of the screen here, we don't know where he comes inside, Wooten goes outside. That's the way it's designed. And we bring the nose guard to the front side of the blitz. So what that does is that occupies that guard, and now there is no one to block the blitzer. All right, so that's a great job by our kids getting there and making a big play in a big situation. Back to offense now. We ran the ball very well. I want to make special note, and again, number 6 here for them is a great player. His brother plays for the Chicago Bears. He makes a play here. But when we see this from behind, and again, I'm always talking about the play of our offensive line. When you watch this on the point of attack, Finn Tully does a great job, and he's That's his assignment, to club that kid up the field. We block down on the nose guard with our right guard, Colin Papp, and Aaron Mielik, who's just a phenomenal offensive lineman. He's going to be a great one as we go. He pulls around and he gets a piece of their front side linebacker. You look at our center, Colin Billups, come back and just flatten the backside D tackle. Just a well blocked play. Unfortunately, that great player they have makes that play, but I think just the look of the way we did that. We gave the ball to Joe Fleming here. Joe Fleming is a nice changeup guy for us running the ball. And here, and especially when you look at it from behind, we got into 2 tight ends on 3rd and 1 and an I formation with the quarterback underneath, which we don't do a whole lot of. But, it's old school football. And you look at Joe here, how Joe hits the ball on the right side. Okay, and then just cuts it back right there. Great feet, great vision, gets out into the open here. I'd like to see him get the ball on his outside arm here so he can use his inside arm as a weapon, stiff arm type thing. But, a nice chunk run for us, puts us down very close to the goal line, okay? Staying offensively, we put in a little sprint out wrinkle. We felt we wanted to get Mason moving a little bit in the pocket, and we ran a comeback route here with Jackson Roberts. This is a tremendous throw and an even better catch for a first down on a 3rd and long. Unbelievable catch, unbelievable throw. 2 guys connecting and making a great play. All right, as we move forward here, from behind, you'll see it, and it's a great stretch and catch by Jackson Roberts. Okay, continuing on, down on the goal line, we get back into this double tight, and we gave the ball to Martin Wangton a lot, and we put him at tailback, and 240 pounds just barreling in there, and we're just gonna flex our muscles and go, and we hit this thing, puts us up 14-0. So I think a great start for us as we move forward. We talked about this last week, our kickoff coverage. It was even better this week against phenomenal athletes back there, and we were not going to kick the ball deep. We wanted to squib it, make them have to field it. And what teams do to us is they try to take it outside on us, back the other way. And, we do a tremendous job here. Jaden Wooten, Owen Blum, Arian Johnson, all there. We never allowed them to cross the 30 on kickoffs. And that has been something that in previous years had been a problem for us. And I think we solidified that. They went into this double tight wishbone deal and just wanted to pound us. And it was successful for them a little bit. And, we had to make some adjustments to it. We had to make some plays to it. And it hurt us at times. But I think as the game went on, we were able to take this thing and shut it down somewhat. Now, we talked about gap control, right? And here's another example of gap control, how everyone is in their gap, and it forces the kid to bounce it. And when he bounces it, we got kids out there in nice positions to make a play. And, that was a good situation for us here. The same thing. We're in gap control. We stop it for a loss. We got a lot of guys around the ball. So I think a great stand there for us on that. Moving forward, they're still in it. They come back and run it weak. And when you look at this from the back end, the play of Kenny McGoldrick, who plays down as a D lineman, he's usually our Mike linebacker. But when we get into this 4-man front set, we put him down now. And him and Luke Laub just do a great job in that A-B gap and shut that play down. So, again, defense playing very well. Again, same formation. They run toss to the boundary, and our kids run into the ball. Physical, making shots. When you look at this from behind, they get a holding call on it. But I want to emphasize the hit that Jaden Wooten puts on this kid. As he's pursuing the ball right by our sideline. I mean, they just knock him out, and that's a physical football, and that's what we wanted to play against these guys. I don't think they really got hit like this in previous games. We come back to Martin. We run an inside power, and he's just a load. I mean, you're not going to tackle him with one guy. We do a nice job on the point of attack with the blocking scheme, and we just kept feeding Martin, and after a while, you just don't want to tackle him. I mean, he just gets downhill and he runs very well. Looking at it from behind, you look at us kind of wash this whole side down. with our O-line, and we lead up through it. Roman Ince does a nice job picking off the backer scraping. We get a nice 15, 16-yard run. We got to hold on to the ball, but obviously Amir Mason being right there, taking care of it. Here's another one, a little different flavor here with Mikey Chalice. Mikey's a little bit of a different type of runner. He's more of a speed guy, shifty. Martin's going to run straight ahead, but Mike gets up in there, and that's a big play for us as well. Again, a well-blocked play, looking at it from behind. We get everything blocked here. Finn takes that kid down. We get a kick-out block by Aaron Mielik. Great job. And then Mikey's able to find a crease and get a nice deal out of that for us. We get into a fourth down situation here. We had a holding penalty down inside the 10. Things that we can't do. But, this is an unbelievable throw, an unbelievable catch, and it's great protection by our guys. You look at the footwork of Mason. He's got the ball tabled. He's able to move up in the pocket and deliver a great ball, and that's a superb catch by Cam. With two people, bracketing him, which is what we were seeing out of that. That was a big score for us to put us up 21-14 at halftime. So we were real excited about that. This might have been the biggest play of the game. Our extra point after that touchdown, where one of our kids jumped twice, which pushed us back 10 yards. So now this became an NFL extra point. It's a 30-yard kick. And if he misses this, we got issues down at the end of the game. But Will Grabko really bangs this ball, and that's got plenty of room to spare right through the uprights. Just a great kick in a pressure situation after we lost a couple yards on those movements. Back to the defensive side, again, our guys just play hard. They play hard. They run to the ball. Luke Laub has just emerged as a great player for us in terms of running down things. And, only a sophomore. I believe he was in on 16 tackles Friday night, which is an insurmountable amount. Here they run a little sprint out, and our nose, Will Grabko, finds a crease. He's able to make a big play and for a long sack. And, again, another huge play defensively for us. And we kind of took away all those outside things that they wanted to do. This one, I think, sets the tone. They run a little counter play here, and they bounce it because we're in gap control. Martin sheds his block, and he just grabs this kid and just kind of throws him down on his head. Just a physical play in front of their bench. And, I think this set a tone that, we were here to play football tonight. And, I think when you see this from behind, and I'm going to slow it down a little bit, as it runs here. But Martin is a force. He's been a force for the last 2 years. I wish we had him back another year, but you look at him get off blocks, and he just takes that kid and he throws him airborne. That's a very, very strong physical human being. Here he is again running with the ball. He's 240 pounds. He's just creasing this thing. He's got great vision. When you look at it here, this is a cutback run. So he's coming front, and that's a cutback run. That's a very, very good job, good vision. I'd like to see him protect the ball a little more, but, again, big play. We had a punt later on in the third quarter, and Will Grabko, who's taken over since Luke Scott has been out. And if you watch Jackson Roberts, who's one of our gunners, come flying down the field, makes a great tackle. Against a great athlete. That's 24 back there. He's one of the best backs around, and that's a great play by Jackson Roberts to, again, 3 phases, right? The kickoff return, the punt coverage, the extra point, and then obviously the field goal at the end to win it. Here's Martin again with a little bit of a bounce play. He uses his stiff arm. Now, number 4 for them is one of their best players. And this is what I'm talking about having a ball in the outside arm, because now you can use your inside arm to fend off pursuit tacklers. And Martin does that here. He fends off this pursuit tackler. He uses his right arm as a stiff arm. He gets away from that kid. He gets down the sidelines. He breaks it. We get a late hit here. He takes out a couple cheerleaders. moves the ball a little closer. When you look at it from behind, again, just a big man doing a great job. We got Will Grabko in the backfield as the kickout guy. Now, I want to take notice to this. Number 28, kicking out as the fullback. Okay, I want you to watch the contact and the defensive end's head just jerk all the way back. Bang. That's a great hit.
Yep.
That's big-time football right there. And then Martin's able to get outside, make some things happen, and, there's the late hit, as that moves forward. Okay, they're running a little cluster trips formation here. They bobble a snap, and again, our guys are all over the place and making plays, and, just another example of us just being sound defensively and making the plays where we needed to make them. Again, another defensive deal here. They throw it down the field. Jackson Roberts picks it off. Okay, we're playing with a high safety here. He picks it off. He starts to run it back, gets a little decent return out of it. They tackle him, but again, we stopped that drive, and that's a big drive. In a tie football game that we needed to make that play, and we were able to do it. Back offensively, we're just saying, hey, let's just give the ball to 22 and let's just grind it and chew it up, and that's what we did here. And here he is again, just the forward lean, the strength, 12-yard run when it looks like there's nothing really there. Staying with it. Okay, here's a little, we call it a mesh route. We've been running this route very well. I want to make note of something here, that when we put this route in way back in June, Matt Primavera, who brought this route to us and put it in, our OC, I want you to watch how the two crossers slap hands. See them slap hands? Okay,
Yep.
Well, why do we do that? We do that because now we know that those routes are rubbing nice and close to one another. Okay, so that's the goal. We need to slap hands on that route, because if those routes are off kilter or one's deeper than he should be, they're not as effective. This is a big third down play. Cole makes a guy miss here. Great job. He makes another guy miss, and gets it, rumbles it up there. That was a big conversion for us on a play that we practice a whole lot, and I think a play that we run very, very well. Back defensively, again, we're making plays in the backfield. Okay, and we're doing some nice things back there, and just getting penetration. And you look, here's 45, Luke Laub running that backside A-gap blitz that we knew that we were going to run. And you look at their center, number 51, look back afterwards. Oh boy, I should have had that block. And what we did is we delayed this. As soon as that center went one way or the other, we were going to delay blitz it, and that's what we did here. And Jackson gets penetration, and we got some guys running to the ball and bringing a kid down with force. Same thing here. They get back in that power eye, and they try to crease the ball inside. And again, we are in gap control, and that thing bounces because there's nothing there. And look who's coming off the back end with that blitz on the backside. 45 runs him down. Martin is in great situation there. Another great play for us. We get into overtime now. This is the second play of overtime. They get under. The kid pulls out of there early, drops the ball. Our nose, Will Grabko, smacks the ball out of his hand and recovers it. Gives us the ball in overtime. Huge play. Huge play. Now we get the ball, and all we got to do is score some points, and we could win the game. So what do? We get right back here, and we're going to pound Martin. Let's just run him. Let's keep it going. There's no clock or anything like that. And, so we get the ball down in here. And then this last play that we run before overtime, the kick is, we told Martin, said, let's call the play and get the ball right to the middle of the field. Okay, and you look at what Martin does here right at the end. He's stretching to get that ball smack dab in the middle of the field, because obviously that makes it an easier kick rather than being on a hash mark. So we get that, and now we're on a fourth down, and we weren't trying to get a first down or score a touchdown. What we were trying to do is set this kick up. Before we look at the kick, I want to look at it from the back end. Guys, one of the hardest jobs in football is the operation, the snapper and the holder. Okay, that's a perfect snap. That's a great hold. Okay, Now I want to bring notice to the left side of the line, how they're coming hard to block this thing. And you watch Oliver Collier solidify the A gap, Aaron Mielik solidifying the B gap, and Jackson Laub coming down hard in the C gap, and then Roman Ince has the inside to outside, and we get the thing off, and he smacks it right through the middle. Great job. So I think it was just a tremendous victory for us. I think it was something that we feel real good about, and I think one thing that kind of goes unnoticed is this. I wanted to save this for the end here. When we kicked this ball, all the hard work by the coaches, all the hard work by the kids, all the sacrifice by the parents. I want you to see this in terms of how it affects. You watch this kick go through, and it's coaches, it's players, it's fans. I mean, it's just pandemonium. It's a beautiful thing to see. And when you watch this, I mean, we just kicked the field goal in overtime to defeat an undefeated team and win a conference championship. Great job by our kids, and it was a great night for our school. So we're real happy about it. I think it was a great night, and hopefully there's more of that to come.
An absolute unbelievable game indeed, ending in overtime. Coach, talk a little bit about, because the running game was a key to this, I think, for you guys. It was like almost, I like to use the word, almost like running by committee, because you had Martin, you had Michael Tallis, you had Joe Fleming. You had a couple of guys. It was incredible that these guys were able to.
Yeah, we've been able to interchange those guys all year. Who's playing fullback, who's playing tailback. And the bottom line, Ken, is that, you're going to go with the hot hand. And Martin had the hot hand. If it was Joe Fleming, he would have had the hot hand. If it was Michael Tallis had it against Marsh Catholic. Joe Fleming, Martin had it this week. So, we're going to ride that hot hand. But again, it all comes down to the five guys up front and the fullback that are able to block for that. So, some good things.
And that was evident, you talk about the five guys up front, defensively and offensively, was just incredible that entire game.
Yeah, we played very, very tough up there, and it was a great one.
It was literally like to call Smash Mouth football.
Yeah,
a little bit. It really was old school a little bit.
Old school.
And some kind of the things you like to see in some of these games. So coming up next, of course, is Hudson Catholic. Very good team, to say the least. Got to go to Jersey City to face them. It's the final regular season game for you guys. The public school's final regular season was last week, and the public playoffs start this week for them. And you still have one more regular season game. Tell us a little bit about Hudson Catholic and what to expect there.
Wow, they're a very good team. They're gigantic. They have some great athletes. They've played a very, very tough schedule. They played Del Barton. They just beat Pope John last week, 12-7. They've played some good people, and they're going to be a handful. There's no question. They have a very, very big defensive line. They have one of their defensive ends, number 55. It's going to be as good as we see. He's going to Vanderbilt. I mean, he's an SEC defensive lineman. Their nose is about 325 pounds. They have a defensive end on the other side that's committed to LIU. All three of their secondary is committed to Division I schools. They have a great running back, number 34. His last name is Rodriguez. Their quarterback's outstanding. I mean, they're a very well-rounded team. They're 5 or 6-2 or whatever they are, and going down there, it's always cold down there, and it's a tough ride. I know the Turnpike Bridge there is down to one lane, so we're going to have to account for the traffic getting down there, and it's a tough task. Our kids are fully aware of how good they are, as we are as coaches, and we're hoping that we can go down there and play as well as we did last week, and try to be as competitive as possible.
Take us through a little bit of what the preparation is like for you guys. You guys literally, the next day after a game, literally going in to check film and so on and watch these guys. So take us a little bit through that preparation now from the start to
I mean, I think if you called Marion, she could probably tell you a little more about it than me. But I mean, the game's over. last week we decided to go out as a coaching staff and get a bite to eat, and you come home and you're watching a film.
You're kind of smiling when you said that.
Yeah.
I got a bite to eat.
I'm sitting down. We're watching the film a little bit, and I'll usually watch the film before I go to bed. I did not this past Saturday night. I was wiped out, and I woke up at 6 a.m, wherever time I usually do, and watched the film. We met as a staff at 8, so the coaches were all back in at 8 a.m. after leaving there at 10:30. We review our film, and then we start breaking down our next opponent. Now, I will usually break down our next opponent on Thursday or Friday of the previous week. So we had, 6 games on Hudson Catholic, and I think we broke down 4 of them, and then we were waiting on their game that they played on Saturday, and then got that, and then broke that game down. So now, we're going to come in on Monday, and we're going to stay late as a staff on Monday because we will have a preliminary scouting report meeting on our team on Saturday, but we always want to wait till we get that last game in. You never know who's getting hurt or things change. And then we'll stay very late on Monday, 9:30 Monday night. And then, we'll go out to practice on Tuesday. We'll stay late on Tuesday, finalize things Wednesday night, a little bit of a meeting after practice, and then I'm here. Thursday, we kind of scale back. That's my early night. I'll get home at 7:30. And then, usually, and Marion will attest to this, my alarm goes off at 5:30, and I'm out of the house by 6, and I'm in the office by 6:20, and, it's just working on football and preparing for the next day. Practice plans, scripts, drawing up cards, all those things that have to go into the practice, and, trying to find little things that we need to do to stop and be successful again. It's quite a tedious procedure. It really is. And I think people that, it's not gym class where you're rolling the football out and you're just playing. There is so much that goes into it, and it's a lot of work. I love it. I can't see myself doing anything else, but, it's just it's a grind. It's a definite grind. But the problem with it is that when it's over, everything just stops. And now you're like, what do I do? I'm so used to this routine since June, and now it just ends. And you're like, it's 3:00. I'm going home. I don't know what to do. So it becomes a little bit of a, you get conditioned to a certain way, and then, it just, but the preparation is really, really the fun part of it, although it's very grinding.
Gotcha. So, one of the things coming up, of course, after this week are the playoffs and getting ready for that. Let's take a look. We have some preliminary look at what the playoff standings look right now for non-public B. And a little bit of a new format this year, not necessarily for non-public B, but for the public schools, where they will be crowning overall champions in the groups this year, and so on. So that, in turn, while a little bit of a different schedule for many teams, indeed, and all, when the initial schedules come out, it's only an 8-game schedule. Teams are invited to, if they want to play an extra game, 9 games or so on, they are able to do that. But let's take a look at the standings right now and give us a little, if you can, explain a little bit about what we can expect, what you're expecting as we get ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, what I did find out today from the NJSAA is that there are 9 teams in the bracket. So what that means is that 8 and 9, whoever they may be, and I think that extra team is going to be Gloucester Catholic. 8 and 9 will play each other. Kind of like a play-in game, like in the NCAA basketball tournament. And whoever wins that game will play one. Okay, so from there, everyone else besides 8 and 9 will have a bye next week. Okay, now if for some reason we slide down to 8, then we're going to have to play next week. I don't think that's going to happen, but if it does, we would play next week. But I really feel that we're going to have a week off. Now, we could finish, if we beat Hudson, we could finish as high as 4, okay, and have a home game. Okay, if we don't beat Hudson, we could stay where we are. But I know this, Immaculate Conception plays Morris Catholic this week. Should Immaculate Conception win and we don't, they could jump us, and that would put us down to a 7. All right, so we're kind of rooting for Morris Catholic. All right, should we not win the game, because we want to stay at 6. And right now, if everything stays the way it is, and some of these St. Thomas Aquinas is locked in because they've already played 9 games, so their points are not going to change. However, Holy Spirit can jump them. I don't think DePaul will jump them. I think they're too far behind, and they play Don Bosco this week, so that's a tough task for them. But if the season ended right now, we would be playing 6 at 3, so we'd be at St. Thomas Aquinas. If we were to win Friday, it may bump us up. If it bumps us up into the first 4, we would have a home game. If it bumps us to 5, 5 would play 4. If we go down to 7 with us losing and Immaculate winning, and again, these are all the scenarios that we as coaches go through, then we would jump down to a 7, and we would play the 2, which right now is St. Joe's Hamilton, our old friends. Now, they may not be a 2 by the end of the weekend. So I think after this week's game, you're gonna weekend's games, you're gonna have a better idea of where these teams are gonna fit in. But what I do know is that 8-9 will play next week. 7 through 1 will have a bye, and then the following week it'll be 1-8, 2-7, and so on, 3-6, 4-5. And then obviously those winners will play in the next round, and then the finals will be at MetLife Stadium later on in November. So again, it's starting to clear up a little bit, okay, but we weren't sure how many teams were actually going to be in the bracket. But now we just heard from the NJSA today that there are indeed 9. So there will be that play-in 8-9 game, and then there'll be 1 through 8 from there.
Did you get all that, Rob? Rob, do you have any questions from any of our viewers?
We just had one. It was about the playoff bracket, so you got that covered pretty well. That's the only one in.
Awesome. Very good. So we want to remind everybody once again, Friday night game at Hudson Catholic. Game time and kickoff is at 7 p.m. because of traffic and so forth. We all know regarding from the turnpike and all, you may want to give yourself some extra time to get to the game on Friday night. Again, that's 7 p.m. And of course, there are implications regarding the playoffs in this game. So really would be great to have a great crowd there on Friday night for the Spartans. We also want to remind everyone, of course, to make sure you join up with the Unitas Caritas Foundation. You'll get this beautiful mug here that has the Spartan logo on one and the Unitas Caritas logo on the other. Just $19.66 a month to join up with the Unitas Caritas. We want to thank all those who have took advantage of joining up with the Unitas Caritas. They've gotten their free mugs already, so please join up with us if you haven't already. It would be great to have you along for the ride with the Unitas Caritas Foundation. We also remind you also that last weekend, Immaculata had their fall admissions event, the open house event. It was a great event, great turnout to see everybody coming and everybody that is interested in attending Immaculata, especially the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders who showed up on that day. We also remind you, if you are in 8th grade, you can join us for Spartan for a day to see what it is like and be part of what it is like in the day in the life of an Immaculata student. You can join us and just register online at immaculatahighschool.org. That about does it for us for tonight, everyone. We want to thank you all for joining us on the Coach's Corner here on the Unitas Caritas YouTube channel. We want to thank Coach Mike Columbo for being part of it again. And, of course, we will be back again next Wednesday, to take a look at the game against Hudson Catholic, and we'll also review everything about the state playoffs, which will be coming up the following week. Good night, everybody. And again, thanks for joining us.